People forget a lot of times that you are admitting students to an institute of learning. And so, yes, the grades matter, but it's very rare to find a student who's going to be distinguished by grades.
But Thomas, are we speaking only of the US here then?
In the UK, if you're applying through UCAS, grades absolutely matter. In the US, the grades are not the only thing.
So it is your foot in the door for that admissions officer to open your file.
It's your ticket to the show.
Grades matter,
Mhm.
but how you package the whole thing and your uniqueness or your unique thumbprint matters the most.
Right.
And when I often tell my daughter that, and she just finished her grade 10, she's like, see, I told you
Okay.
grades don't matter. To all the students who feel like, no, grades don't matter, what do you say to them?
It's not that grades don't matter, it's that grades are expected. So when you open that file, people forget a lot of times that you are admitting students to an institute of learning. And so, yes, the grades matter. Your grades absolutely matter. But it's very rare to find a student who's going to be distinguished by grades.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, how many students have a perfect GPA and a perfect test score?
But Thomas, are we speaking only of the US here then?
So in the UK, yes. So if you're applying through UCAS, grades absolutely matter. Right. I mean,
Right.
the personal statement is lovely, but the grades are really where you're
Yes.
winning the war. And so,
Yes.
yes, that matters. Now, in the US, you can, the grades are not the only thing because we have holistic admissions. And
Right.
so that gets translated sometimes to grades don't matter. The grades do matter, but they're rarely the thing that is getting you in. It's a check mark. Can they do the
Yeah.
work? Yes. Do they get the test score? Yes. Okay, now let's open the file and see who they are as a student and a person that can contribute to the class. UCAS is much more, yes, you get your one-page personal statement, but it's much more about what your grades are.
So it is your foot in the door for that officer to open your file. The grades are
Absolutely.
your foot in the door.
It's your ticket to the show, your foot in the door, however you
Yes, I
want to
love
say
that.
it.
I love that
Yeah.
line. Ticket to the show. That's what I'm going to tell. Go back and tell her.
And tell her
Um,
exactly.
right. Um, Also to kind of understand, are you seeing? At least that's what I see around. And I think you already pointed that out. Do you see a lot of clones of profiles these days? Do you see a lack of individuality? Like you said, everybody's doing a research paper, everybody's doing summer school,
Yeah.
everybody's publishing a book, everybody's running a something, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's doing yes, a community service project. So how do you again sieve through all of this?
So it's not just something new. I mean, you saw a lot of cloned profiles 20 years ago, or
Yeah.
so this is very typical, and I think it comes from a couple things. First of all, with the parents. Second of all, I know in cities like Mumbai, Delhi, there are like two or three, there are a couple of large admissions counselors, and they just
Yes.
give the same advice to everybody. They play the
Yes.
percentages, and they're like, if I have 1,000 students and I give them all the same advice, X percent are going to get into good schools. Those are the ones that I market, and I bring my new 1,000 students in. So
You got it right.
no hate. I'm a business person. Like I get it. I just don't think that it does. I think it does a disservice to those students. And so, what I would say is, if you see everybody writing a book, doing community service, doing research papers, just don't do that. I've always, with myself, with my students, when everybody's going this way, go the other way. You will stand out, right? And so, the other thing that I advocate a lot for is don't do all the things. Do fewer things, but do them well and do them intentionally. So, if you want to do community service, that's great. A lot of times, examples we see from Indian students all the time. I go back to my parents' village and I teach English, or I help start a store or whatever. And I never want to. I never want to say that helping and giving back is a bad thing, but it's very clear that this is a couple hours of performative work that really lacks any kind of traction. At the same time, I've had India students from India who have actually built sustainable businesses, right? So they go back to their parent or their ancestor, village. They see a problem, they go out, they find who's doing best practices around the world, they partner with them, they bring technology, they bring expertise, they bring experience, they build something meaningful, they tie it into government agencies or whatever it is, so that then when they're applying, they have all this proof. Right? They have proof, they have recommendations, and they have something they're like, okay, this is really what I've focused on for the last few years. This is something that's meaningful to me because of this. It helped really clarify what it is that I want to study. And so that is a meaningful tack. And when you see these overstuffed applications, you know that they're not, A, not doing all the work. You know that they're not doing the work intentionally and well. And it just, the whole thing just feels off. And I know you probably hear that from a lot of admissions officers. I know that Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour theory has been largely debunked, but the reality is that when you read, people forget a lot of times that admissions officers, this is what they do for a living. This is not something casual they do once a year just for kicks. So all day, every day, all year, for years sometimes, I had admissions officers in my office that have been working in admissions for 20, 25 years. This is a deep knowledge. you know because these applications are very complex and there's a lot of data points and touch points and cross-reference points. When things are not adding up.
Yeah.
And the reality is, as a missions officer, it's not my job to add them up. They either add up or they don't. I have a few minutes to read your file. And so if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't fit, it gets kicked off into the deny bin. Now, the problem you have is that there will be some students who do game the system and get in anyway. That
Right.
becomes the beacon for everybody saying, well, it worked for,
Yeah.
Thomas,
Yeah.
so it's going to work for me. And then you get this stampede of sameness, and then people just get washed out.
For parenting tips, celebrity interviews, recipes, conversations with experts, DIYs, and lots more. Subscribe to Kids Talk Press now.